Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on Arrow Season 7. So later on today we have the Season 3 premiere of Supergirl, but it is tomorrow where we are back to not only Star City, but also Slabside Maximum Security Prison as Arrow returns with Season 7. And I'm pretty damn sure that we are all extremely excited for that. Some press have been able to watch the premiere already and have said that it is very good, with the prison stuff obviously being the highlight of the first episode, and as we all know, we are going to be in that prison a decent amount this season. So it is good and just, I guess, a relief to hear that it is good. I've always thought it would be good. You can watch my videos through the off season where I've basically talked it up while other people have tried to talk it down. Because, well, it's pretty brutal in there. I mean, it's a prison. And that is really when Arrow is at its peak, when it is just brutal, whether that be towards Oliver or Oliver towards someone else. And I think in Slabside, we will get both sides of that brutality taking place. But in this video, we are going to be going over the latest Arrow news, but the first thing we will be going over is actually an interview with Steve and Mel just on the difference and change at the beginning of this season offers, seeing that Oliver is in prison when we open. And then there is also some stuff with Emily but Ricard's on life outside of Slabside and some other stuff. But this is what Steven had to say on those differences and changes. It's been a very, very unique year because I'm in prison, because I'm not kind of isolated, I'm really isolated. It feels like there are two shows going on. There's what's happening out in Star City, and there's what's going on with Oliver. It feels like two very, very different things. But it has been a really interesting journey. It's been a challenge for me thus far in a good way. But Emily had this to say as well on the topic of isolation. It kind of feels like a little bit of a different show in terms of isolation, of not working with the people I've gotten to work with over the last 6 years. Steven and I haven't seen each other in a while, so it'll be fun to get everyone back together. We all like each other too much. Now, as we know, in the first episode that we will get, to see tomorrow, Oliver and Felicity will share a scene or maybe two in prison in the visitors area sort of place, and Oliver will also share a scene with Diggle. But from what is being said here, it almost seems as if this will be the only, or at least one of the few interactions Oliver will have with Felicity face to face in the early parts of this season. Obviously, you would have to think there would be phone calls, unless Oliver is on some strict no call list or something. So it seems that Diggle might be the only one seeing Oliver, or possibly Oliver is just chilling with his fellow inmates for the most part of this season. And with Felicity on the outside, thanks to trailers we have recently had drop online, she will be back to her normal blonde hair eventually, whether that's episode 2 or 3, washing that pink dye out, and be back with Curtis mainly, but also Renee as well, as they go about seeking down Diaz following from the end of last season. Now, Steven then went on to talk about taking his character in a new direction, as well as changing his character's general outlook on criminals now that he is in prison with them. One of the themes of the season is that there are no heroes in prison, so Oliver has had to go against a lot of his instincts so far this year. There's an element that reminds me of how beaten down he got in those first few years of flashbacks. I've only had one day on set this year where I'm not covered in cuts and bruises. It's been very unique. We see him examined this year in prison in a way that feels kind of like the logical evolution from what Chase tried to do to him back in season 5, where he got him to admit that he liked killing. I don't think Oliver has given a lot of consideration to the moral and emotional complexities of criminals. He's always just thought that if you're a criminal, that means you're bad, period. Things aren't always black and white, and that's something we're really focusing on his character learning. I hope that if and when he does get out of prison, he will take some of those lessons and take some of that empathy and apply it to being a better version of himself. And I tend to have a feeling that Oliver will get a lesson in prison in things not always being black and white in regards to criminals, with a fellow inmate of his in Slabside who we have seen in trailers and promo images, that being Stanley, who Steven says will become an interesting ally for Oliver in prison and kind of his very mini version of a team member. Now, I don't have the greatest hope for Stanley's survival in prison. I just have a feeling he may get seriously injured or just straight up killed due to hanging out with Oliver. And the other prisoners might be thinking man, I can't mess up that Green Arrow dude, he's sort of messing everyone else up, so I'm just going to shank and kill his little mate. But I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens there with Stanley. Let's hope for the best. Now, in this interview, it is confirmed that Felicity was in witness protection, which explains the hair, clothing, all-around aesthetic, and also her living arrangement. And I was saying this since the first set photos came out of her in this look where it did appear she was working a cafe or a restaurant or something along those lines. And we will see all of that in tomorrow's premiere most likely. Obviously, people are saying no, Paige, witness protection, that's stupid, she wouldn't be in there. Well, it's been confirmed. I guess the big question is what city she is in, because I don't think it would make much sense to put someone in witness protection and place them in the same city the most danger for them is in. I had an early theory that they could, maybe put her in Gotham City and have like a connection to Batwoman early on this season, because we'll probably only get like a handful of scenes, maybe 1 or 2 scenes with Felicity in this witness protection in this particular city. So it would be cool just to chuck a little reference out there with Felicity either just referencing Batwoman straight up, or like a caped vigilante or something like that. Or even just something on the news or something around that type of thing, like on the newspaper. It'd be pretty cool. But I think somewhere like maybe like Opal City, Coast City, or even Central City, which we've had appear on the shows like multiple times, obviously especially Central City, are the more likely places for Felicity to end up being in this witness protection. But this is what Emily said specifically on all of that. It's sort of that concept of your life changes and the people around you are the ones that matter. And not having them in it can really detrimentally affect your lifestyle and who you are and who you've become. It's sort of that feeling that you can be surrounded by a million people but be so lonely if you don't have the ones you love. I think that's where we find pretty much everyone at the beginning of this season. But then Emily finished off by talking about Oliver's decision to go to prison, as well as her getting back to normal life as season 7 progresses. She's pissed, as she should be. That decision had her life completely remade and it wasn't her choice. She's upset, she's hurt, she's lonely, and she's heartbroken. So all of these intense emotions together don't make for the best recipe. I think there's a void, like she has numbed a part of her heart so she can get over that, because I think it's just been so detrimental being away from her partner and her friends. Overwatch is sort of what lets her come back in easier as the season progresses. That's the tool that she uses to connect. And the next thing I wanted to talk about is actually some stuff from the crossover, or about the crossover. So they started filming the big Elseworlds crossover for this season over the past week or so, and I think they're going to be filming this thing for like the next 5 weeks, if not more. So keep your eye out on social media for various little teasers that the cast could give in regards to all of this. But one thing that has said to be confirmed is that some of this season's crossover will be filmed in the United States. Now, I haven't read the exact source of this. It's just been said by multiple people that it's confirmed. So, confirmed with like an asterisk. I'm not 100% sure it's confirmed or not, but let's just go with it. So, for those that don't know, the Arrowverse shows are all filmed in Vancouver, Canada. But seeing that we will be going to Gotham this season, this is what many people seem to believe is the reason for this change. Some have said that it would just most likely be easier just to go to like another Canadian city, or even somewhere like Seattle in America, which is just below the border. But Los Angeles is looking to be the hot pick. Now, the reason that they changed it up is because we already use Vancouver as the city for not only Star City, but also Central City, and there's always overlap for similar looking locations, so I don't think you could do it again with Gotham. Now, the cast members for the shows, or at least most of them, were in Los Angeles last night from when this video will go up, and they were there for like a charity gala event sort of thing held by Greg Berlanti, who is the guy behind all of these shows, with Stephen Amell himself being a big focus on the night as well due to his philanthropy work, mainly with F-Cancer. Now, this event was held in the Warner Brothers lot, and it honestly wouldn't surprise me if that is where they shoot this stuff that is needed for the crossover. I actually went to the Warner Brothers studio lot last year when I went to America for a holiday, and man, there was a lot of space there with like city streets set up and heaps of stuff, one of which could easily be set up to look like Gotham. Now, I'm not saying this is 100% where it will be filmed, but it is the Warner Brothers lot. The Arrowverse shows are a part of the Warner Brothers TV family and, one of the more well-known properties. So it seems like a no-brainer to me that they would just let them use this, especially if it's only for like a handful of scenes and not like too much, because a lot of it would be like on a soundstage with green screen for a lot of like fight scenes and stuff. But if it is just for like some context scenes and some like Gotham Street stuff, then I think it's perfect. Like, why wouldn't you let them do it? Especially because some of those ones are more like rustic, and when you think of Gotham, you do think a bit more rustic, a bit more vintage, if you want to call it. So, there's a lot of stuff there that would allow them to, present a pretty believable Gotham. So I think, go for it. And the last thing to bring up in this video is that Kirk Acevedo has actually been upgraded to a series regular spot on Arrow this season in the role of Ricardo Diaz, aka Richard Dragon. Now, I honestly wasn't expecting this, but I am all for it to see what else they can do with the character. But as well as just, not only just like Ricardo Diaz himself, but also his working relationship with the Longbow Hunters, because they all know that they've been brought into the show thanks to Ricardo Diaz. So I'm interested to see that dynamic between that group and Ricardo. But thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on it to show your support. Let me know in the comment section down below your various opinions on the stuff we went over in this video, like that interview, as well as the crossover stuff with the US filming stuff as well. And yeah, just your general opinions. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. I'll catch you later, guys. Goodbye.